And welcome everybody. It is John the Net Guy. We're looking at Tech Day Live number 6. This is a show entirely about Gamdias products. Okay, we got to have another couple products in here to make a full computer, but you know what? Gamdias makes an entirely range of products from cooling systems to fans to power supplies to AIOs and even cases. So I've got their Talos E3 case here. It's the mesh front, so it's got pretty good airflow. We'll check it out. I've got the Aeolus fan kit. It's a 4-fan kit for a price that is just unheard of. I've got the Boreas M1. This is probably one of the nicest looking air coolers you're going to get. It's not got those silly little wispy metal strips you got to deal with. It's actually a really good looking cooler in a machine. It has addressable RGB as well. I'm going to show you the Chion, and this is the Chion M2. It's a 240 millimeter. They also have other versions. This is going to be a great AIO cooler for you if you're trying to keep the temps down, but you want something that looks good. And lastly, this is actually one I bought myself. So these other products were provided by Gamdias for a fair and honest review. This one I went out and bought myself because it's such a good deal right now. Power supplies have gone way up. This is the Kratos 750W. I think this is the B one that I got, which is a 750 watt addressable RGB power supply with some other tricks up its sleeve. So I'll show you all about that. I'm going to check in real quick and make sure we've got some people. I see Green is in here. Howdy. He says greetings. Welcome, Green. Thank you for showing up. See a few other people are in there. Let me know in the chat if you're in here. And taking a look real quick here. I need to pull up this case on Amazon. Welcome, Amazon shoppers. Hopefully you guys are having a great Friday. I've had a week. I have all the plans at the start of the week of what I want to do, right? I want to get up at 5:45, which is my normal get up time. I want to have a nice productive day, get into bed by about 10-ish. That would be great. Start it all over again. Went to bed at like midnight, 12:30. And I got a pager alert at 4:30 in the morning this morning because one of our systems was down, and I do that engineering stuff. So I had to get up, and I just got back into bed after I fixed it, and I'm sitting there going, I'm not going to be able to go back to sleep. So I've been up all day since 4:30 this morning. I'm going to be excited to get back into bed here, but hopefully you guys are having a great Friday evening. It's a little different day for me. PC parts spicy, he says. Gil, welcome, my friend. Gil says, hey everybody. And James is checking in on the face space. Look at that, James Green. I'm here, he says. Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys have figured this out. We're also on Twitch. We're on a bunch of other websites. Biggest thing you can do to help me out, actually, is to check the deals out. I'm going to put the link down there. Amazon.com/shop/thenetguy. If you've never been there, let me pull it up and show you what you're missing. It's kind of cool. I promise. It is going to have all of the deals and things that I review, which is kind of cool. I'm not going to change my browser settings. Of course, right when you do this, that's when everything wants to update, right? So I'm bringing up this page just so I can show it to you guys. And you're going to see me there live. Check that out. I call this the Inception view. It's the picture in a picture in a picture, with me there. But if you come down here, it's going to have Tech Day number 6. Just go ahead and click on the Tech Day number 6 case there. That's from Gamdias. You're going to see all of the products. There's the top row of Gamdias products there. And you can go in and see each one of these. Like I said, that fan kit's on an amazing deal right now. And then the other parts that I'm going to show you here as well that are going to go into this build. I've taken the liberty to maybe round the corners a little bit on this build. I've done a couple things in advance. My daughter helped me out last night getting all this ready. So even kids can build computers. It's not that hard. So that is how you get there, is amazon.com/shop/thenetguy, and then just go ahead, like we said, and click on the Tech Day number 6 there. And we're going to go through the various products here real quick. I'm going to go ahead and get back into the chat here so I can see it. Oh, hey, we got a mod coming in. Zachary's going to keep you guys all safe from the people that like to do weird things on YouTube. Good to see you, Zach. And I will start out with probably one of the simplest build products, but I'm going to move some of these out of the way. Let me get these out of the way for us. And then I'll kind of do them in an order which I think is going to help us kind of see the value of each one. It's kind of funny. I was actually watching on the side screen here for this machine to shut down properly. I've actually got it running right here. This is a real common technique you're going to see PC builders do. I almost recommend it to everybody. This machine's actually running. I'll show you right now here. Hopefully that's the top-down camera. Yep. So what you normally do is build the machine, if you can, on the motherboard box. So if you have a metal table, one of the dangers of having a metal table is, bottom of the motherboard, everything's going to ground out. So what I highly recommend is just use the motherboard box, use your power supply, hook everything up, make sure it all works before you put it in this really nice case. It's also harder to work in almost all cases, right? I've got an open frame one that maybe doesn't count, but yeah, definitely get a bench build going and then put it all in the case. You can make sure all your parts are working. Last thing you want is to find out you've got some sort of problem with your SSD or something once you put all the GPU and everything in there. So very cool. Yes, we got another confirmation. Zachary says, I always do my initial build on the motherboard box. And somebody's got keen eyes. The 1070 has ages, surprisingly. I think it means aged surprisingly well, just like myself. And actually, yeah, absolutely. I went to put in, I don't even know where I put it now. I had a 3070 in the cart, if you go take a look at that. I forgot about this case. There is plenty of room for a 2-fan GPU. That GPU is over 13 inches. It was not going to fit. I didn't even think about that when I set this up. But this case has got some interesting stuff. We'll come to that second here. But I'm going to go ahead and shut this machine down. I'm actually going to bring it up here so you guys can see us side by side. Put myself in the little view here. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the start button. And I'm not going to shut down. Hold on one second here. Full screen, hide comment. We're just going to shut this one down properly. So I'm going to shut it down, and I want to start out and show you guys actually the power supply first, because that's the one that I purchased this myself because I needed a good power supply. I'm actually using it for a video shoot coming up here for another product, but I want to show you this. This is the Kratos 750. So I'm going to unplug the machine temporarily. We'll be back. We'll get this thing back benching and doing everything. But I want to show you a cool trick with this power supply. And we're going to kind of do this all in a little bit of a different order than we're used to. But it's going to be fun. We're going to have a good night tonight. Let me know what you guys are doing tonight. Hopefully something more fun than sitting around watching the net guy. But no, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Every visitor helps. Every viewer counts. I'm going to get that out of our way. So now we've got our power supply. I'm going to put this off to the side. And let me know how my audio is. Is it too loud? Is it too soft? I try to get it just right, Looking there. Okay. So let me get this up on the Amazon. I won't bother you with a fake unboxing, but it's right here, the box for this. And we are going to pull this one up. So I was looking for a 750 watt power supply. So this one is from Gamdias. This is the Kratos. And the Kratos M1 750W right here. It's got a ton of power options. It's going to have all of your addressable RGB compatibility. That's a huge thing. So you don't have to worry, depending on what motherboard manufacturer you have, this or that. It's all going to be standard. It's going to use the addressable RGB lighting. If you want it to go to motherboard lighting, you hit a button, hold it for 3 seconds. It'll do that. We're going to use that feature. I'll show you how that works. The other cool thing about the total power output on it is it's going to have your CPU 4x4. It's going to have 2 of those. So you got all the power you need for those power hungry Intel motherboards. I've seen up to 8 of the dual 8 pins. So yeah, this one's going to have 4 + 4 × 2. It is going to have 4 of the 8-pin headers. This is not a modular power supply, but honestly, in a case like this where the power supply is hidden, you can hide the rest of these cables. So let me show you here what the PCIe is looking like. So they're counting technically both of these. That's why they're saying they have 4 8-pins, and they're the 6 and 2 variant. Now, technically, I would recommend, even if you're just using 2 8s, definitely go this way. You definitely use 2 and 2. You'll hear a lot of people talking about that. So you want to do that with this power supply. It's going to have the CPU 4 pins here. Like I said, you're going to have those so you can actually fill all 16 of those. Now this is bridged. Again, these wires are rated for, whatever they're saying here. So you got to be careful on that sometimes if you're running really high CPUs, but 750 watts is probably a good mid to high range. It's going to handle all of your CPUs. What I'd recommend though is check out some of the power supply calculators online. People buy enormous power supplies and they don't even use them, don't even come close. So let's go ahead and fire this thing up because I want to show you the really cool stuff that it can do. And actually I've been working on something. I know we had some focusing issues last week. Check it out. Manual focus. Look at that. I can dial that in just right. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing on, and you know what, nothing's going to happen because we need a power goods signal. That's where I'm going to bring a new product out that I've picked up. I use this thing all the time. It's a basic power supply tester, and it has saved my bacon time and time again. I want to show you guys real quick how it works. So even before we start our build, this can be something kind of fun, especially if you're using used parts. Sometimes people buy used power supplies. I bought a batch the other day. And the cool thing about this is now I can turn it on even before I have my machine built. And it's hard to read that screen. It's going to be, but essentially it's telling me all of the data about it. Let me see if I can put you up on the side camera here. And hopefully it'll read in there. There we go. Okay, so it's saying here the power good took 190 milliseconds, and I don't have anything plugged in on one of the 12-volt rails. But check that out. 12.1, 5.0 dead on, and 3.4. So it's giving the right voltages out. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do something. I'm going to turn it back off. I'm going to go ahead and plug in. They only use the 6-pin on these. So this little power supply tester, and I know I'm on the side camera still. I'm going to use the 6-pin. I'm going to grab me the CPU one. I kid you not, I was working last night with my daughter, doing this as a bench build. I was just sitting here trying to jam the CPU pins into the GPU. I was like literally half asleep, I think. So we're going to go ahead and put this in. Okay, so now fire the power supply back up, and now we're going to actually have all of our numbers here. So there we go. So now you can see all of our numbers there. We're coming across. Again, voltages are dead on what we want or higher. Now, what's cool about this, and sadly my GoPro is the only one that gets this right, I can go ahead and push this button, and check that out. I am changing between all the static colors. This is an addressable RGB though, right? So it's not just static. Look at it. It's got that pulsing. So it's got pulsing on every color. We'll go through those. Then it's got the rainbow, chasing patterns. Now this is all done without having your motherboard hooked up or anything, right? So you can do this all right from the power supply. It doesn't have to have any of that. We'll go back in here. We'll start to go into some new patterns. There's completely off. There's a rainbow following pattern. There's a few of those. There's rainbow changing. So it's got all of this cool ones. Now, if I hold it down for 3 seconds, 1, 2, 3, technically it's going to go to motherboard mode, but it doesn't have any signals, so it's not doing that right now, so it's still there. Another interesting thing, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear it because I do have the gain control on. Maybe you hear that running. So that is on full speed, and I can hit this little button on the side. Hopefully you guys can see what that is. That's a silent mode button. So what that's going to do is when I turn that off, it's going to go full power on the fan. Now that's what a lot of power supply manufacturers are doing now, are going with these, variable speed motors, and they're slowing them way down because people don't want to have that. So that's just one of the other things that, it does have, is that silent capability. So I wanted to show you guys that. Let me unplug this thing, and then we can do some other cool stuff here, like start taking a look at this case. Now we're going to use this again to launch our case here in just a second. Let me get this out of the way. So that's the power supply. It does have your SATA. I believe it has a Molex too, just for you guys that I know you just really love your Molex connectors. It's going to have one of those and a floppy. If it were me, I might clip those off on a build just to save some, because I don't think you're going to ever use that. And that's actually where we come to the next product, which is the case. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to check for any questions. Hey, look at that. We got Jonathan Talks Hardware in here. Another great YouTuber to check out, by the way, guys. We got a lot of YouTubers in here. He just got home. He's got a lot of things unpacked. We do got a chat going on here, both on Amazon and YouTube right now. Here we go. Actually, I'm counting the clicks now. It's showing me you guys are clicking away on these things. So this is the Zeus, if you're buying it on Amazon, or Talos, if you're buying it directly from Gamdias. This is their E3 ATX case. Now you're going, okay, ATX case. Yes, yes, it does look big. When you look at it compared to this NZXT back here, which is a mid-tower, size case, what I would normally call a mid-tower, this thing has room for a full ATX motherboard. It's going to have 3 fans, addressable RGB. It's going to have all those basics that you need. Let me go ahead and take this out. It's got a tempered glass side that's got plastic on both sides. Now my daughter's going to be really sad. Hopefully she's watching. Let me know in the chat if you're watching, because I promised her that she could take this plastic off. There's 2 sides of plastic here. So tempered glass side comes off. Let's take a look on the inside of this. So again, nice there. Now one of the things I notice on these, I'll push down on the motherboard tray. See how that's got a little bit of flex to it? It's not bad. All of this ribbing and reinforcement in there is going to get it to be a little bit stronger. Overall, without the glass, the case is not bad. And again, you don't want necessarily a super heavy case, but it's got the things that you want. So let's take a look at this top. On the top, we've got a mesh filter there, and you have room for a 240 AIO up there if you want. Now it's going to be tight because again, this is going to fit that full-size ATX board. Let's talk about top IO real quick since I'm up there. And I got to come back out a little bit, and I got to unfocus. There we go. So there's our I/O choices on the top, what I was talking about with the 240. So you got 2 regular USB, USB 3. You've got audio that's broken out. You've got an LED button. The LED button is going to allow you to change the LED effects, so you don't have to have an addressable RGB motherboard. So this is a really good case for flips if you're doing like corporate to whatever. Standard power button. Everybody's gotten rid of the reset now. And then I'll just show you the front real quick. This is that mesh front that we were talking about. So very understated Gamdias logo. They don't have a lighted logo on this one like they did on the prior ones. So that's the Gamdias logo. Let's go on to the inside here. Now it kind of cheated. It spit out its bag of parts, which are actually normally hidden in the back. I'm going to pull this back out a little bit. Let you guys see what's in there. Okay, so like I said, 3 fans, and they're actually installed the correct way from the factory. So a quick trick on fans is wherever the cage is usually, I got this from Zach Techsturf actually one time, wherever the cage is usually the direction of the airflow. So where the frame is. Now I'll show you on the other fan kit, that's not exactly true. So you do have to check them and make sure that they're oriented the right way. So it's going to tell you where the mini ITX, micro ATX or MATX, and the AT standoffs go. All throughout here, it's going to have standoff locations. I've preset this thing up for ATX, which is what we're doing today. I had an extra ATX motherboard, so let's do a build like that. Ooh, looks fairly flat. So good question. Says, could it be cheated to support an eATX? The tray looks fairly flat. It is very flat, and it does go out quite a bit. Let me see if I can get you a measurement on there. Great question, Green. And we're going to go ahead and measure this. This is what I was talking about GPU length. So putting the trusty old tape measure in there. From edge to edge, you have 1 foot almost exactly on the motherboard. You can see that foot hash. I would say you have exactly 12 inches there if you're looking to put an eATX in. So I don't know if that would actually fit on there. Does have the standard power supply basement, which I'm going to show you guys here. So again, your power supply fits in. The power supply can rotate in 2 different directions. I notice it doesn't have mounting if you were to rotate it the other way. What you're seeing through there, you can see my hand through, is actually another feature. Bottom mesh screen, that's getting really popular these days. And actually, this is something that I'm going to take out in a second, which it does have a removable drive tray here. So if you want to move it forward, maybe you don't have an AIO in here. It looks like it can handle a 360, but we'll check Amazon on that. But if you want to take off the removable drive tray on this, you can. If we're not putting any internal hard drives, which we're not, that's something that we can do. So I'll make sure I do that on the next step here. Getting to the back of these, super duper easy. Just getting this down here so you guys can see it. Just 2 thumb screws, and I love having thumb screws. I literally today just pulled the back off of my other case and had to replace one of the old spinning hard drives, the last one that I had. And actually, Green's helping us out here. Says, about 304 millimeters. Yeah, that's from end to end. That's exactly the max length that I think you could fit a motherboard in there. GPU length, follow manufacturer's instructions, obviously. This is what the wiring looks like when you get it. Your accessory bag is going to be stuck right here. All the stuff's pretty bog standard. There are a couple things that you should look out for on here. One of them is you're going to see a SATA connector, and I'm looking for that guy right now. You're going to see the SATA connector in these really funky fan headers. This is my only gripe right now, I would say, having built in this case, is when I plug this in, this is the power for the fans. It doesn't have PWM on them, so they ramp up to full speed. I'm sure you could figure out some sort of way of adapting this. Doesn't look like a standard fan header, at least not from this side. But that is the one drawback I would say, is if you're going to do this, this is great for a budget build that needs consistent airflow. They're not too loud, and we're going to make this thing really loud when we put all of our fans in it. But that would be one thing to think about. Power supply basement right here, you've got room for at least 200 millimeters of power supply. If you take the drive tray out, you got room for a gazillion meters of power supply. So I'm going to go ahead and take the drive tray out. That's, again, super easy on these things. Looks like we're just going to loosen these. It looks like they're anti-vibration mounts. That's kind of cool. Sorry, I'm going to back it up so you guys can see this. So what's happening is these mounts here are the fixed ones in the center. When I take those screws out, it has a sliding mount for the whole tray. Since we're not going to do this and I want room to hide my cables, I'm going to pull this whole drive tray out. So it's got room for another, 3.5-inch drive or a 2.5 with adapters. And then on the back side here, you can see you can mount your SSDs either front or back through this. There's a couple options there, it looks like. Standard USB 3 headers and everything else. Jonathan says, can it run Crysis? Well, we'll find out. That's always kind of fun. I've got some games that we'll test today. Okay, what I want to do is give you a demo now of this machine without it assembled at all. And we're going to play with the RGB a little bit. Now, a couple cool things that I actually like about this. They're starting to come out now, a lot more of these with these keyed, I love to hate them, let's say it that way, these keyed backplates. So usually before you just have to push the backplate on of the case, back cover. And what's happening now is I'm aligning these and I'm pushing them in. And what that's going to do is it's going to give positive engagement on the back here so that you don't get a case that pops out on the top or the bottom or something and you don't get it just right. So if you get them right and you're good at cable management, that can make it really, really look good, especially on a case that's not going to be super heavy. So that line is perfect right there, you see. So that's a cool trick. I need to make sure I have access to that one SATA cable, because what I'm going to do, I'll take that power. I'm going to take our fancy cheater tool here, our power supply tester. I'm going to go ahead and apply it here, and we're going to see what we can do. Okay. Got that. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. So this is kind of a cool trick when you have one of these testers, or, some power supplies will come with the adapter. Check that out. I can test my RGB out now. Now look at that. I've got my RGB fans, and I got it on full blast. So there we go. So now we've got our Kratos power supply. We've got our Gamdias E3 mesh. The fans are blowing right now. And like I said, they're not super loud. I don't know if it actually has a thermal probe up here. It would be really interesting to see. I'll have to take a look at the stats online on that. But let's press that LED button. Now, these are not linked because they're not tied to the motherboard yet. But you can see, as I change colors, well, am I one ahead? I'm one ahead on that one, I think. I can keep these in sync here just by changing the buttons on them. I guess I'm going to have to go forward on this one. So it's got a ton of different chase patterns. Off, there's your different color wheels. I think I even saw a lightning effect earlier. So again, addressable RGB, pretty slick. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. We're taking a look, if you're just tuning in right now, this is John the Net Guy. We're taking a look at all of the cool stuff from Gamdias. And I'm not doing it justice because, again, these cameras that I have here cannot get the brightness of the colors that we're seeing there. But there's the different colors that we're seeing. Again, will be motherboard addressable if you want, and you can turn them off. But yeah, very good airflow here. Let's bring that right up here so you guys can see it. Check that out. So a good looking case. If I was doing a budget build with this, like I said, or a flip even, very good price on this. Let's go talk about that real fast. So if I come back over here, and I'm going to turn off a couple things. So let's go back over here. I'm going to bring up the cases page on Amazon. $69. Oh, did I mention it comes in white? So if you're looking for something maybe a little different, maybe a little more attractive, same price, and you can get it in white. Looks like the inside's painted too, which is awesome. So I want to see what this one is. Oh man, look at that. That's the full glass version is $1 cheaper right now. So that's going to be your tempered glass, not your mesh model. Looks like they got all three of them are available right now. 4.3 stars on 72 ratings. I got a ton of questions. Let me pull it up real fast so you guys can see the different pictures. They always have better pictures than I do. And this is what I was talking about earlier about the fans. So you're going to be able to get a 240 AIO up top real easy. You can get a 360 jammed in the front of this. I don't know how they did that. Now, the only drawback, like I said, on this one is the PWM on the fans doesn't look to be controllable. And the second thing is the GPU width. So we'll see what that exactly is if we can get a number out of that. So you can go to 140 millimeter fans if you want. There's the 3 120 fans that are included. There's the ideal airflow, and we're going to take this one step further when we go ahead and add the other fan kit to this because it's pretty cool. So if you want to add even more fans, you can do that. And then to convert it to motherboard, you hit that button. There's the different I/O options. And there we go. So maximum GPU. Man, you almost nailed this, Green. 300 millimeter max GPU, and I was trying to shove a 330 millimeter GPU inside of it. That's what happens when you're the net guy, you know? So that's the Amazon page for the E3 mesh that we're looking at real quick. Couple things about this airflow wise. Again, air's coming in the front, out the back. So it's 2 to 1 here. With the product that we're going to show a little bit later, that would be the the 4-fan kit, the AIO 4-fan kit. You can add 4 fans, 2 to the top, 2 to the bottom, or just 2 wherever you want. You can run all 4 or not. You could split these across builds if you wanted to, because these kits are expandable. That's the cool thing. I've got a case over there that's got 6 fan slots in it. It's coming up, and I need fans for it. So I could buy 2 of these kits, use a couple here with 1 controller. There's room on this controller for more fans and LED strips, so you can do all of that, which is pretty slick. So has that capability as well. Taking a look at the, yeah, I'm telling you, he did it exactly. 304.8. You were off by 1/4 of an inch. Fan mounts in the PSU shroud. You know, there technically are. Good idea. Good eyes there. Now, that's going to be really hard to mount because they're actually threaded for the smaller screws. But I'm going to actually mount that later. So you're kind of skipping ahead on the program here, but I'm going to set that up. Let me go through a couple other things real quick. So that's the case. That's what we're going to put everything into when we're done. We covered case and power supply. I want to talk about a couple other things real fast. One that we're not going to get to, but it's really cool. So just bear with me. If you're looking for cooling options, this is the one I was just talking about. This is the Boreas M1. It's going to support pretty much every CPU. Take a look at the specs to see exactly what it is. It's going to go from the LGA 1700 all the way to the AM4s, all the way to the old, you know, different Intel rarities that you see. It's fully addressable RGB again, which is just rocks. So there you go. So that's the look of it. I can't do it justice in the studio because when it's on, especially if you're in a darker room, this thing just looks awesome. The other cool thing is it's not like every other air cooler out there. It's got 1 million heat pipes. I wish I could pull that off of there and show it to you, but I believe it's got 6 copper heat pipes. So more copper, more expensive to manufacture, but more cooling that you get. That's why they make a lot of the cookwares out of copper. They're comparing it to a couple other ones out of here, and I can't say exactly what it is, but yes, it does very well, and we're not going to have any sort of thermal problems with this. The other cool thing I like about it is that shroud. Now, you'd think that that would be an absolute pain to work with, but I'm going to show you how easy this cooler is to install. So let's go ahead and pull that machine back up. Actually, I got to grab the whole thing. I was trying to just grab the motherboard for some reason. Okay. Let's grab the whole computer back up here, and we're going to take a look at the Boreas, because I've already installed this, but I do want to talk you through the installation steps. Super easy, especially if you're on the AMD platform. Now, Intel, it is going to include all the brackets that you need for any specialized Intel coolers. So let me do this. I'm going to get on this camera just to give you a view, and then I'll come up here so you can see me. So, like I said, you're getting inside of a really tight case, and I don't know if I actually have an extra. Yeah, I do. And what happens when you're working in a really tight case? You're trying to put these on some sort of fan, you got it stretched out, and bing, the thing goes flying in your office. You can't find it, right? Hey, welcome, Jim. I just saw Jim checking in here. Jim, good to see you, man. Congratulations on some of the updates I saw you on Facebook. Don't want to dox you there, but congratulations on that multi-year project you were working on. So there you go. So there is the fan clips that you normally get on all the other coolers. This one does not do that. The way that this mounts, and it's ingenious, is it's a shroud, kind of like a car radiator, and there's two little clips on the bottom. Let me get this right. Check this out. It comes right off the cooler. So this is what I was talking about. These little tiny half circles, half moons, they just slide over and lock it in so it doesn't go anywhere. And this thing's machined and milled so perfectly that it fits right in. So again, I can actually move it to the other side if I wanted the airflow to be the other way, but I want to do it this way. I can slide it down when I have, oh, sorry, I locked it so I can't. I can slide it down the fan and then just reach around and lock it in place, and now it doesn't come off. But it's going to provide that airflow that we want. So very cool looking. Now, I'll show you a couple different options when it comes to how to get this thing going. So I'm going to slide this out of the way. Again, it's going to work on your Intels. It's going to work on your AMD, all the different variants there. Okay, here we go. And normally we can't talk prices, but it's not going in the video. $49.99 for coolers, kind of par for the course. We see many 35 to 50 with different features, fans, LEDs. I like the look. Wait till we get this thing in the case, man. I'm going to love the look of this in there. It's fairly tall. We'll see about fitment and everything, how that fits. But let me go on the side view. I know I got the GPU in here now, but can you guys see all that copper? Yeah. So there's three that come out this way, there's three on the inside, and there's three on the other in and out. So you get a total of 6 copper heat pipes, and the bottom milled to perfection. So that's what you really want, is a smooth bottom there, so you get the best heat contact. So let me pull this power supply. We're going to hook the power supply back up and get this thing kind of going back on the bench again, and then we'll throw it in the case and we'll fire it up. So hopefully that won't take too long. And we're going to get this GPU going. I don't want to forget the GPU power so that we can fire this up. Yeah, I went back to the 1070 on this one. It was just obviously a spare that I had around here, but at the last second I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to fit that 3070 in there I was going to put in. Sadly, I have from some projects, I have a couple extra 3070s, so trying to use them where I can. Okay. So that's back in, motherboard on. We saw a slight blip there. It was kind of a hint of things to come. I'm going to get the video card plugged in here, and then like we do on all the bench builds, screwdriver to fire her up, and there she goes. Now it's going to take a second for the RGB to start coming. Now it's already running here, but check that out. So the RGB just started. Now I've got it on the motherboard RGB, which is actually a pulse pattern. Now, if you want to go to a rainbow pattern, here's kind of a cool thing. Unplug the motherboard connector. So that, and again, I've got the GPU right in the way, in the worst place I could put it. But yeah, there you go. So that's the standard RGB color pattern. Let me go to the top down, see if you guys can see that. Okay. And that's again, the lighting effects on the top of this. It has this really cool just kind of like a grill on the top, and it's going to show through. And the neat thing about it is there's so much air because of that shroud that's actually going through the cooler vanes. You don't have it blowing out the sides towards the front like some of the others can. Because of this shrouding system, you get a lot more air through. That might be why it performs better than a lot of the other coolers they were talking about. So, look in here. Good point, Green. A nice small Zotac 3070 might work. Yeah, anything you can do with a couple fans would probably be better. They just keep making the GPUs bigger and bigger. So that's the Boreas. Again, great looking RGB, addressable RGB fan. Now, I did not see a splitter in the box. Let's go take a look real quick. I just want to double check if this one had a splitter in it. Again, always check the Amazon listing to see exactly what it is. This is where all of the other adapters come in. So there's going to be your Intel adapter. Just taking a look real fast. Yep, and there's all the different Intel. This is the 2011. And this one, is this one labeled? This one is not labeled. So yeah, that's a different AMD or a different Intel. Intel's usually the one that's got all the weird ones. So as far as installation goes, super easy. One of the things I love about this and some of these other style coolers uses the factory AM4 mounting. So that cooler mount that goes through the motherboard for those clips, you just take those off and you put yours in. Take the AMD AM4 right here, mount that to the bottom of the cooler, and you're done in just a few seconds, and you've got this really good looking cooler. So we're going to use that one in the build, but there is another cooler I want to show you real quick here. So that was the Boreas. And hey, Jennifer is checking in on Amazon. I'm doing good, Jennifer. Thank you for checking in. Haven't seen you in a while either. Let me go down here and find where I put it. Okay. I want to talk to you guys about the Chion cooler over here. Now, this is the Chion M2. They did actually send me this for a fair and honest review. I've done a review of it before. It is a great cooler package. It follows a lot of the same patterns here with Gamdias. Either they have, some of their stuff uses a built-in controller that'll connect to your motherboard. Some is PWM and some is not. So you just got to be real careful. The fan kit that I'm going to show you here in a little bit does do that. The case kit did not, like I mentioned. I'm going to do a quick unboxing of the Chion. There we go. There's a power adapter that I put in there. So we're going to go ahead and unbox this real quick. I'm just going to power it up so you can see what you're looking at here. Now, it comes out of the box and it's super easy to install. Now, the fans are going to be separate from the AIO, right? So here's your AIO and your pump. There we go. So AIO pump, everything's nicely bagged. It's going to have covers on the LCD, so you're not going to mess that up. But it does have the Gamdias logo on there. It is going to have a pump connector, and then it's going to have a connector for the RGB on that. So it's going to have a standard PWM connector for the pump, it looks like. It is going to come with 2 fans. Now, this fan uses the proprietary Gamdias connector here. But the neat thing about this proprietary connector, it's the same one from the AIOLOS, which we're going to see in a second. So if you want to control them all off of one, you can just plug all these into the same one, do the chase patterns through the whole case. Now this one is going to have that frosted white, and then the RGB is actually going to display through it. I'm going to plug this in real fast just so you guys can see what it looks like. Here we go. So I'm going to plug those. I'm not going to have them plugged into the AIO, but I'm just going to put them here on the bench just so you can see what the wiring is like. And actually, I have to say, the wiring's easier. When you have this proprietary connector, some people really don't like that, but the wiring's a lot easier. There's a control box. Like I said, that's all you need. So this little control box is going to have LED 1, LED 2, and up to 8 additional fans. It's going to have LED in and LED out. So we're going to put the power in on this side. We're going to need to rob some power off of our power supply. It's going to have a SATA connector. Now these ones, be super duper careful. If you put them in backwards, it can damage them. And I know by experience on that. I might have had to buy another one of these myself because I had an incident. So they are keyed. And just be super duper careful that you're putting them in the right way. I'm looking here to make sure that I've got those keys in on the lower side. So we're going to do that. Okay, see, now I just tell you that, and then I'm putting them in and being super careful. There we go. Okay, so that's one. This is fan number 2. Now, the nice thing, like I said about this, is that even though it's proprietary, it's a single fan for both the RGB. Oh, and I got to get them over here so you can see them. I got my mug in the way. It's a Friday, guys. Go easy on me. So there's the two fans that would normally be on your AIO. Like I said, you plug this in, you're good to go. There's a couple other things that we missed yet though. So you've got all of the different CPU mountings. So you can go again. This goes all the way up to LGA 1700 for your Intel 12th gens. It's going to have your AM4s, all your other different kinds of cooling. If you were maybe overclocking something, I might want to consider a good AIO like this one. And the numbers on this, I don't know my exact numbers from my video because it's been a year or so since I did that one. The numbers were fantastic on this cooler. It actually did. The AIO did really, really good. A lot of times you just got to be real careful when you set it and you're plugging it in, that you plug it into the pump connector on your motherboard and do everything right. But man, this thing definitely works well. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on. Okay, so there... I need to turn the motherboard back on. Ta-da! So now we're blue. That was just out of happenstance. We got lucky there. But I can turn on and off my fans with this included remote. Now I can increase my brightness, or I can decrease my brightness, and I can decrease my fan speed. I don't know if you can see that on here, but I can increase and decrease the fan speed, change color, change modes, go through all of the different automatic modes that it has. So mode up and down. So I can do all those cool things with this remote control. So this is great, again, if you're doing a flip. Maybe you've got a corporate gamer, you want to make something that looks really cool. You can go throw it up on some of those flipping sites. But this is a very, very good AIO. Now the other cool thing about this, so I'm going to move it. So I've got the fan speed down to low, but if I hit the fan speed up, and I've had ones with more than 8 fans in them on the video I did, man, this thing's moving some air now. It's pretty cool. But you can see here, it's got rings on the front and the back. Now, maybe I can show it on this camera a little bit better without, I'm going to totally lose a finger here. But there you go. Look how bright that RGB is. So, addressable RGB uses a control module there. So the controller is included with it. And just works out super great. Now I can't use that in this build. I didn't plan for that. I want to show you the fan kit, so we're going to go all air cooled on this one. But that's another great option if you're looking for an AIO cooler here. So looking here, pretty much talking through. Hey, Born to Be Wild says, I love your reviews. Born to Be Wild, I love your comments. That makes 2 of us, right? Thank you so much. I appreciate you checking in there. And like I said, most of the time here I'm on Tuesday evenings. Sometimes I'll do a build like this or a special event on a Friday. I'm going to put this back. I was just showing you again the Chion M2 240R radiator cooler. And this is from Gamdias again. Now, it's going to have some extra wires. What's in the bag here? So it's going to have different interface wires depending on what kind of motherboard you have. So if you don't have the standard, what is it, VDG or whatever it is, if you don't have the standard addressable RGB, you can switch to the different plugs here for your different manufacturers. So there we go. So I'm going to take these out of the way. We're going to set those down. I'll be right back. Try not to break our tempered glass. And then we'll get to building here. So, okay. So again, we took a look at the Boreas cooler. That's the one we're going to use on this build. That's right here. This is a 4-fan kit. Now, I'm going to hold off on installing this till the very end once we got this all in. But to answer your question, Green, earlier, yes, this can mount to the bottom in the power supply area. And you guys can decide which way you want all of your airflow to go. So that's another really cool feature of it. I'm going to try to get a few things out of the way here before we start building. Now, in this case, I've actually already built, I put the SSD in, the RAM, all that stuff. So we're in good shape. So now I can bring the case up here and we can start to drop it in. The motherboard that I selected for this build actually already has its I/O shield. Now, that's one of the things that a lot of people forget is to put the I/O shield. They get the whole machine built, and then all of a sudden they're wondering why they can't get the machine in there. So make sure, again, if you're doing this at home or following along, there's this hole in the back here for an I/O shield. Make sure you put that in depending on your motherboard. And I'm going to take and disassemble a few things. I'm going to leave most of it connected. GPU's got to go in there second. I'm going to have to go get that HDMI cable. So I'm going to go back to the product here on Amazon. So taking a look real quick here. So I'm going back to the case. So it looks like a couple of you guys have clicked on the case on Amazon. Very cool. Appreciate that. Again, I do earn a very tiny commission on any item sold. And again, I don't do this just for that commission. Trust me, I'd build computers if they didn't pay me. Don't tell them that. But that's one of the things that's nice about Amazon Live is I can bring you cool products like this. And one of the things about Gamdias, and I said it in the beginning of the show, I just want to repeat it. When I had 500 subscribers, I didn't get anything from YouTube. I had 500 subscribers and they reached out to me and they liked my style. They liked where I was going. And they said, how would you like to review some products? And I said, you know what? I would love to try some of your new products. And it's been a great relationship. They bring me cool stuff. I haven't had any issues that weren't self-caused, honestly. So this is a case right here. Sometimes you may or may not want to run like your EPS connector up here. That's for your CPU. You may want to run those ahead of time. So sometimes you may want to run those. In this case, I'm just looking at all of the standoffs to make sure that they're where I want them for this board and this install. And so far, it's looking pretty good. So I'm going to call that good. I'm making sure I have enough room for my wires. Now, keep me honest here, you guys, if I'm messing up at all. Now, another thing that a lot of people get wrong, and I'm going to do this probably wrong a few times. Just getting this dialed in here. This fan is tight up against this one. Get my IO through. There we go. Get my holes lined up. Okay, just double checking another thing about the style of this case. So let me get the motherboard box out of the way. I'm going to move this over and then I'm going to give you guys the top-down camera so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing the whole time now. Okay, so when you get this in here, another thing that people often get wrong is these connectors have to push in to pull out. So this here, these are pop outs. They're good and bad, right? So the nice thing about them is you don't have a bunch of slot covers rattling around in there. Bad in that you can't replace them. So I'm actually taking this out as a retainer clip here, and we're going to look and see where our GPU lands because that's the one that we're going to want to pop out. Now you can put covers in if you need to. I didn't see any included. So what I'm looking for, oh, there's one included at the top. They gave you an extra. That's kind of cool. They know exactly what's going on. So again, this is built, looks like for builders. So the GPU is going to take these lower two spots here. So that's why I was measuring it, eyeballing it, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my tool or my hand here, and I'm going to bend and remove these two slot covers. So that's what they look like. Just removing those slot covers so I can get the GPU in. And if my nephew Calder is watching, we spent last week together. We had a little mini family reunion and a very long road trip. Looking there, it looks like I may not have had the right standoff position. You know, I want to double check. I did not. So I had it, the standoff here is set too close. And on this motherboard, I need additional standoffs there, there, and there. So I'm going to go back to the parts bag here. We're going to see what they offer. So they should have standoffs in the extra parts bag. That's what you're seeing me do over here. There, I see them. I'm just going to put all the screws out. The other thing I would say is always save your screws and your standoffs because you never know when you're going to have to change a motherboard out. Love it. Oh my gosh. Checking in here with Jonathan Talks Hardware. Again, another great YouTuber to check out, you guys. That is Jonathan. He is on the East Coast, but I see Jonathan makes it to a lot of streams. We have a pretty similar circle of where we like to hang out with the right YouTubers. So very cool to see him in here. And he says, Fridays are my fave day. That's true. I don't know. I don't know what my favorite day of the week is. What are your guys' favorite day of the week while I'm putting this motherboard in here? What would you say is your favorite out of all of the days of the week if you had to choose? Now, I would say some of the motherboard kits I've seen include an adapter for putting these standoffs in that makes it a little bit easier. I don't see that in this. So, you know, that's a convenience feature, especially for new builders that maybe aren't used to this. What I do love about this is kind of like a generation of cases I'm seeing now, which are these skinny, I'm going to call them skinny, tall ATX cases. So you get the power of a full-size ATX board, but you're actually working, and I can show you me doing the work in here, sorry. You're working inside a case that's, you know, again, 300 millimeters roughly front to back. So you're not looking at these enormous monolithic. I have a tower in the other room, and I don't even know what I'm going to do with it because it is seriously so big. It gets in the way. Now, clearance-wise, this was really close right here with this fan. So I'm having, every time I put this in, to work kind of at an angle and then tilt it at the last second to clear this fan. What I would normally do, because this IO shield is tapered, I would normally remove that fan and make sure I can get my IO shield through the back here. Okay. Looks like we made it. And we're lined up. What I always like to do, and I've told you guys this before, is I like to put a screw right down in here. Now here's the cool thing. Remember that removable shroud? I'm going to use that now. Take a look at this feature. If I can get it to come out here. Because, of course, this one is what I was talking about. There we go. How did I manage to lock that in? That one is free on that side. It's this guy that I've got to be careful with. I turned him the wrong way. There we go. So this is kind of cool. So if you need access to things, you know, how easy is that? It's like 1 second to move your fan out of the way. And the nice thing about having an IO shield in the back there that's integrated is I don't have to worry about lining everything up. I can't tell you how many times I've missed. You know, I've had the little metal ground prongs sticking into the slot, you know, for your HDMI or something, and I'm like, oh no, I got to do this all over again. So it looks like this is, the standoffs on this one are threaded with the fine thread screws. I'm just doing a couple here to line us up. Taking a look at the chat, make sure I didn't miss anything. If you're just tuning in, by the way, this is John the Net Guy. We are doing a live Friday night chillin' build, just hanging out. Ending the week on a high note. I go pick up my boat tomorrow. I have it at the mechanic. We're going to have a lot of fun in Seattle this summer. I'm up in the Seattle area. And we don't tell anybody, but we have like 3 months of amazing weather every year. So we're still in the not so amazing weather. It was in the 30s, it felt like, this week. So there we go. I'm just making sure I get all these connectors in. But yeah, we're getting our boat ready. We're going to have a lot of fun. I got a lot of cool marine products coming up that we're going to be on the show at times. That'll be kind of cool. Got a couple people chatting. A2000s. There we go. Okay, so now they're talking computer stuff. Now, the reason you may or may not want to do that EPS for those CPU connectors, and I'm looking at it right now, is I've got this fan and I've got this cooler, and I've got barely any room to get my hands down there. My little hands are going to have to get down there and connect that connector. So I've got most of my screws in. I've got a couple more here. You know who I didn't see in the chat yet? I did not see Pinky Tech or PC Tech Hustle. Those guys love to join my stream and harass me about how slow I build, but technically I think I'm doing pretty good, other than the fact that I had to show you the parts first. But we're on Amazon. I have to be demonstrative of the product, they say. So there we go. So that is all in. Now, I already took advantage of putting the M.2 drives in here. One of the really nice things about those NVMe drives, saves you so much room on your case, so much wire that you don't have to run. Can make it super easy. I'm taking the back of the case off because we're going to start to install the power supply, do a couple other things, and we will have a working machine here in no time. So again, power supply on this E3 mesh that we're building on today is going to be in the basement. We actually have a power supply basement on this one. This power supply does have a bunch of extra wire, so it's going to be a little bit challenging to run. This is not a modular, but man, for the price, you can't beat it. So this, again, from Gamdias, this is the Kratos, and this is a 750 watt. I'm just looking at the alignment. I'm going to install mine. It looks like the label's upside down, but they're on both sides. I'm going to install mine with the fan side down. So again, you can decide on yours however you want it to draw air in and out. In my situation, I want to do it that way. Now, if you're installing a power supply for the first time, maybe you're not comfortable with that or not knowing how to do it, inside the box here is going to be, looks like some zip ties. Hey, look at that. There's going to be some screws. They're the coarse threaded screws. They're going to have 4 coarse threaded screws. And then in this case, they threw a couple extra zip ties in there for me. Right on. I'm going to take you guys over to this camera. Hopefully you guys can see me install this power supply a little better that way. So I just line it up this way. And there are 4 screws that it has to go into. Okay. There we go. Here's one. And we're using the coarse threads, like I said. There's that second one. Now, neat thing about, again, this case, the whole thing, really, it's going to have some underglow now because that RGB comes out of the bottom. So that'll be another interesting thing here. I'll give you guys a view more that way. So it's going to have that RGB coming out the bottom. You could install it the other way if you wanted. So you could have it facing upward. And the neat thing about that is you'd actually see the RGB on the bottom. But I got a trick for that later. We're going to have some fun with that. It involves that fan kit I was telling you about. Okay, now because I took the liberty of removing all the drive cage in here, so there's no drive cage because I don't have any of the old big drives, I've actually got a lot more room to hide my wiring that I gave myself. So I did that on purpose. Okay, this is a splitter. This is one extra piece that I added to the build here. So this one is going to allow me to split and use that RGB on multiple items. Sometimes you're going to need that. This power supply also does come with an addressable RGB header. I should mention that. That's this thing right here. We're not going to use the addressable RGB header on it though, because again, power supply is facing down. I'm not really interested in linking that one to the other ones, but if you had it facing up or a big visible part of your build, you might want to do that. So I'm going to run power up through. Okay, so first thing I'm noticing here, as we get to build, we only have one real major hole for our wires, at least to the motherboard. So that's the one I'm going to have to use. I'm going to spin this around. Actually, let's go to camera 4. You guys can see that better, can't you? I'll bring myself up there. Now that doubles me. I don't like that. So we'll just do camera 4. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up. Hopefully you guys can see that. And hopefully my large dome is not blinding anybody with the light here. It is not the goal. Okay. We have our ATX connector. The next one that's going to be a little bit harder, and I'm just kind of going from the back of the power supply here, and I'm just kind of feeding the wire the way I want. We'll get into actual cable management. Let me know if you've seen a YouTuber that's amazing at cable management, because I am not that YouTuber. So I want to meet this person that you find that's supposed to be a cable management god. And if they are, I could learn something, because cable management is tough. Getting the cables just right so that they look right. And what I'm doing right now is I'm freeing the CPU connectors. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and put that up through the top. So those are those EPS connectors. That's what they look like here real quick. So they're 4 and 4. So there you go. So we'll pass that through. I know everybody's excited. Thank you very much. We're getting the build along. Now you can do a couple things to make this easier on yourself. Wow, I just heard like a big crash upstairs. Hopefully the kids are okay. Hopefully my wife's watching them. Let's see here. Yeah, this is going to be tight. Okay. I'm going to cheat. Do something I should have done earlier, which is you can actually remove this rear fan if you need more space and you've done like me and already put the stuff in. This also helps getting your motherboard in. So if you're a first-timer, noob, or like me, experienced and just did things out of order, you can remove this fan out. I'll get you on the top down here so you can see that. Okay. So all I'm doing is I'm just going to temporarily move this fan out of the way so I can reach down in here with my big mitts and get this EPS connector on. Let me know if you guys have had trouble before with a build like this, and if you've had to do that like I'm doing right now, trying to weave this in. There we go. Success. I've got one. That always breeds another. And, oh, got it. Okay, got the EPS connectors. Those were way down in there. You probably won't see them real easy. But way down in there, I had to get those EPS connectors, the CPU 4x4. And then what I can do is pull this fan and put it back. So I want to be cognizant of the airflow, remember? So when I put this back, I'm watching to make sure that it's aligned and the cage faces back. So again, airflow goes towards the frame side of the fan. Just remember that. So when you're putting your machine back together, that you get it in the right angle. So very cool. We're almost done with this part. A couple other connectors and a GPU, and we will fire this guy right back up. Very exciting. There we go. I like to do the power connectors. Then we're going to do, let's see, I want to do this fan shroud as well as any adapters. Now this comes with a very long set of cables, so you're not going to be hurting to run a cable. Like in my situation when I was trying to hook this up earlier, I actually ran a cable all the way down to the lower one. I might actually do that again for the addressable RGB. I might actually run that before I put the rest of the cables in. I'm going to run it here and I'm going to hide it behind everything. The VDG connector. Okay. Yeah, see, they make this a little interesting. Once you get it in the computer, you can never get these in. Once they're out of the computer, it makes it super easy, right? So hopefully you guys aren't looking like down my ear or something. Here we go. This is always the challenge to get them just right. If anybody wants to invent a new LED connector that doesn't do this like every other one, I'm going to be like your first customer. Okay, now I'm going to do the fan for the CPU fan, which I know goes right here. And they're labeled in order. Now this is a PWM fan, I should mention. Like I said, Gamdias has a variety of different choices when it comes to, some things have controllers. So if you're doing like a Dell swap and you don't have all the controller and other stuff for your RGB, you can do it that way. Some of them use standard connectors, like this Boreas is using all of the standard motherboard connectors for everything. So there we go. Taking a look at all of the extra cables that we have. I think we're going to need a couple PCIe cables. I'm actually going to run some I/O real quick up through the bottom, just to get them where we want, because that power supply is in the way. So I'm going to run actually the I/O cables. Looking at this case again, this is my first time putting a motherboard inside this case. A couple interesting things about it that I'm liking. Get you guys over here, see what I'm doing on this side. Is that the cables are extra long. So like this USB, I could go plug this into the other computer. It's so long. This is the USB 3 cable connector. Really makes it easy to plug in. Now, USB 3 on this one is down below. So yeah, so now I've got to take this guy all the way down below, plug it in, and run it up. Give you the view on this side of where I'm plugging it. So it ran up through the bottom, and I'm going to plug it into one of the USB 3 headers. I'm going to take this, which is going to be USB, I assume. Yep. And I'm going to plug this into front panel USB. Is this guy our audio? That guy's our HD audio, which is usually always towards the back here. Okay. So those are connected up. Man, we're flying right along here. Now, there is a special connector on the back side here I got to show you. And actually, hopefully it doesn't mess things up, but I'm going to add a little bit more light on this side from this light. There we go. Just because cameras love light. There we go. Give you a little bit more light here so you can see this. This is the connector that if you don't want to use the push button LED at the top, make sure you connect this to the motherboard. So we're going to take it out. And I'm going to bring it up through the top, because that's the closest path to the motherboard connector. And we're going to plug that in over here on the front side to one of these motherboard connectors. I'll get you guys back on the top down here. And you know what? I had done something to this camera to make it easier with black cases because they don't show as well. Now I'm thinking I should go the other way. So now it's going to be a little bit brighter. There we go. Change the exposure the other way. And this block goes over here. So again, they make it as hard to see as they can. There we go. Okay. So that's going to give me the connector I need. I have one more RGB connector to put on, but I'm going to do that here in a little bit. Okay, I don't have USB Type-C, but if I did, I would put it on that connector right there. And my cable management is atrocious, I know. Save your emails. I will do 3 Hail Marys later tonight to make up for it. Okay, I'm sliding this in here. Now, I did take out a piece that's actually kind of cool on this model. So you can see here, that GPU went in like butter. Now, what's interesting about this is this has this shroud here, and let me show you what that looks like on this side. It has this hold down. So if you're having trouble, sometimes like me, with 11 hands and you're doing the work vertically, and you're having trouble holding your GPU in place while you're putting screws in and stuff, this shroud can be kind of cool. So you lift it up while you're putting the stuff in, slide it back down, and it acts as kind of some extra support for your GPU, and then you can tighten it down like that. And what I'm going to do now is put in, looks like coarse thread, into the GPU. Now this is an 11-inch GPU, and there is about 1.5 inches left on it in this case. So I could have gone a little bit bigger GPU on this. You get to see it on the top down now. So definitely fits really well. It looks, I think, well proportioned. If I had a front-mounted AIO, it would be really tight. But you could go up to a 12-inch. Like I said, you're going to do a dual fan any day of the week. It would be really hard to put a triple fan in this one. So triple fan GPUs probably out, and you can also look at some of their other cases. They've got other larger cases that would handle that. So taking a look at Amazon real quick. Make sure I didn't miss anything. We're working tonight on this budget build. This is the Gamdias E3 mesh. We're putting the final touches on it. Now, I have to remember to hook a couple things up, one of them being the power for all that pretty RGB. So again, I'm kind of floating through the wires here, just kind of deciding what I'm going to have left at the end that I'm just going to leave off, not connected to anything. I need to send a PCI Express power up here, so I'm going to do that. Let you guys see it on this camera. Man, maybe I need a producer to switch cameras for me. What do you think? That would be kind of fun. I don't know if I could handle that. Then I'd have to actually build the whole time. So here we go. Slide that in here. Now you can zip tie. I'm going to zip tie that back right now since I know it's going to be an issue. Let me show you what that is here on the top down. So if you've got your extra PCI connector here and it's going to fall into one of these fans because that's Murphy's Law, you can come down here and you can take one of these extra zip ties that they included and you can zip tie it down like that out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and cut the remainder off of that zip tie, and that's just going to keep it from hitting, touching, doing anything to anything because we don't want that. Okay, slide this back up, make sure I got my final power supply connector, and then we're going to fire this thing up. So I think we got it. Now, the one connector that I didn't show you guys, the one connector that I didn't show you guys is probably the most important, which is all of your LED lights for your case. So let me get that one. And there's a trick that comes with this motherboard. So this is a gigabyte motherboard. So this is the connector I'm talking about, which everybody loves to hate. So this is going to be your power supply, reset, hard drive LED. You can see all those little bitty labels right there. Well, there's a trick from this motherboard manufacturer. I'm going to open the box. I just saw it. Now, I have never used one of these, so I'm going to try it today. We'll see if it works, if I can find it in the box. There it is. And it's an I/O block. So what they've done here, I'll show you in their very small manual they have. So what they've done is they've taken all of your I/O and they've put it on one little condensed block. Look at that. Front and back, and it's all labeled. And what you're supposed to do, I gather, is come down here and you take your hard drive LED, you find where HDD LED is on here with the plus. Hopefully you guys are able to see this. It's probably better on this one actually. So you take your HDD LED. There we go. And I'm going to slide it into this holder until it clicks. So that's in. Now my reset switch I don't have, and I only have two more. Then you take your power LED. There's a plus and a minus. So the minus goes in the back. Plus goes in the front like so. So again, very tiny connectors here. And then you slide those down till they snap. And then you take your power switch, which really doesn't matter. Honestly, it's a switch, so it doesn't matter which direction, until those snap. So you get all that terminal block in there. Now, if you had speaker and a bunch of the other ones, the neat thing about this is I'm going to slide this up and through to where that I/O is again. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see me. See that I/O block, which is an impossibility to get to normally? I think I just totally scratched my desk, but let's start with that. So that I/O block right there that everybody loves to hate, well, technically, I can slide this connector through. And I can push this down as one large cable block at once and connect all my cables. So technically, if I did everything right, all of my cables are now connected in one shot. Now I'll pull the excess cable back through here now that we're done connecting those. I'll show you what that looks like here on the front. So if you look at the bottom, you can see this cable is extra right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the excess back through the hole. There we go. Same with this, just so things look right. Perfect. Yeah, plenty of airflow on this one. Okay. So keep me honest here. Hey, we got Ben Robinette checking in. Look at that. Thanks, Ben. I'm just building a computer, nice little gaming machine. I don't know who's going to get this gaming machine. My daughter's already begging me on one of the other machines I was showing her that's coming up next week. She's like, let me take that to college. I want to take that to college. I'm like, you're 12. You got a long way to college. But, yeah, so she's excited about this. Let me go ahead and plug this machine in. Who's guessing this is going to post the first time? So Jonathan Talks Hardware. He's one of our other YouTubers in here. Just double checking to see who thinks that this thing's going to fire up and post the very first time. I'll give you a hint. When I do that, the light flickered. That's a good sign. Okay, now I'm going to go here on the top down. Oh, look at that. My RAM's already lit up. So apparently my RAM is still getting power even in sleep mode here. So that's another good sign. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, there we go. So now, interestingly enough, they've got the fan in here. You can see that CPU, the Boreas CPU fan. I'm going to grab over here real quick. Get my HDMI cable so we can see the output of this. And hopefully it's posting. What does it say? No video so far. Who's going to be a winner here? Sometimes the RAM has to do its thing. Look at that. Aorus, look at that. BIOS has been reset. Please configure your BIOS setup if needed. Okay, we got lucky on that one, guys. Did all of that assembly, and it worked the first time it posted right there. So this is that brand new computer. We just built it live on the air. I don't know anybody else, honestly, on Amazon doing live PC builds. So I'm going to claim I'm the only one until I hear otherwise. So yeah, we just did a live PC build together. I'm going to get this mouse going, and we're going to have some fun with it now that we have that. We'll configure some of the RGB here so we can do that. It's just saying BIOS has been reset. Configure your BIOS if needed. Okay. Load optimize defaults and then boot. Load optimize defaults and then reboot. Let's do that. I shut it down and started it up a couple times. If you're just tuning in, this is John the Net Guy. We are booting up a computer right now. This is one we just built live. This is a Gamdias, if you're wondering. E3 mesh. It's got addressable RGB fans all over it. We've even got more fans coming up here in just a second. And I am booting up the software on the computer for the first time. It's going to boot up here into Windows. Nobody's going to get my password, I don't think. Here it goes. We're trying a different way to capture the video here. Yeah, that's a win, Jonathan. I'll take that, man. Looks good. Green says, definitely a fine looking build. Yes, it is, my friend. Thank you so much for checking in, man. I really appreciate that. We'll do this. We'll do a little swap. We'll keep it booting in the corner so you guys can see that it is actually booting up. So again, we can change the RGB for this in the motherboard. This other one down here, we have to get off the motherboard. Right now, it's just an orange. That's the Gigabyte default orange. It looks like it's doing. There's another trick here. If I actually hold down the LED button on the mesh, 1, 2, 3, that synchronizes it to motherboard RGB color. Now, gosh, you know, the sad part is, again, my camera does not do justice to the RGB here. So, yeah, there's the RGB in the front. It's got this kind of orangish color that it is right now. The Boreas, the color you see on the Boreas is actually the RAM. It's doing this rainbow pattern. Now, I'll tell you something funny. I actually downloaded the proper IQ software, it's called. So the IQ for the Corsair memory, it was 1.1 gigs for RAM color software. It's like, you know, come on, guys. They're just getting out of hand here. So let me give you a quick preview of what this might look like with the side on. So there's the tempered glass. Yeah, look at that. That's a smart looking machine, man. I'm going to put one little screw in up here for now. And again, this has still got the plastic on it, so it's reflecting a little bit. But yeah, overall super quiet too. That's another thing I'm noticing. It's a good looking case. It's a dark black. They make it in white. You can see the tempered glass and how it just shows through what it wants. And I'll get that IQ software going here real quick. Don't look at my password, people. It's 72,000 digits. Or 4. We're going to take a look here. We're just logging into this brand new computer that we built. We're going to play around with the IQ software and see if we can't get it to be something close that we want on this one. And then we'll also run a couple games and some benchmarks. We'll kind of wrap it up here, but really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for checking in that have. I'm going to hit F and just so I can see here what else we got. Oh, Jonathan says, nice job. Yes, thank you, my friend. I can't wait to get the motherboard software out here because that's the one that's going to be. So Gigabyte uses a software called RGB Fusion. So if you're just joining us here and you're trying to figure out, I got to figure out how to do that. You're trying to figure out what we're doing. We're building this computer. I'm going to load up RGB Fusion. And RGB Fusion, and sorry for the compression here, this is my capture card being a little wonky today, will allow us to change everything. Now watch this. I'm gonna swing it into, actually, you know what? I'm going to do side by side. Sorry to make you go around here. I just want to show you the case and what actually happens when I hit these buttons. So I'm in the software, and I'm changing the color of the fans in the case. You see that? So I can change them that way. Let me see if I can move this over. I'm trying to find the, so there's pulse modes. So if I want the fans and everything to kind of dim and come back, look at that. They're all dimming together. They're all coming back together. There's rainbow modes. Actually, let's find a blue, red. Let's go red here. We're in AMD. We can do team red. Okay, so there's a red that looks kind of like a purple. Now, if you're asking what is going on in this thing, that's a flashing mode. I can't see that. There's another mode. Okay. Oh, there's a rainbow effect mode. That's great. So do you see that Y shape there? That's what I was talking about the Boreas fan. Very cool feature from Gamdias. That Boreas fan, you can see how well it integrates with the rest of these. We're going to go back into the software here so you guys can see what that looks like. And there's all the different options. Unfortunately, there's a lot of compression on this one. I'll have to play around with it and switch cameras here on the next one. You know what? Actually, it takes me like 2 seconds to do that. 1 second. I want you guys to see the best experience here. So let me change this around. Ta-da! And through the miracle, that is HDMI, Bob's your uncle, and there you go. So now we'll get a clean view of that screen here. So hopefully you guys can see that. There we go. And yeah, so there's the cycle color. You can have it music mode, random mode, pulse, static again was the colors that we were looking at earlier, and then I can just change them to whatever I want. Now, the RGB is also on the bottom. You don't actually kind of see that right now, sadly. I don't know if I can do it in a way that you will. Like I said, the RGB doesn't show up on the power supply much, only because it's that Kratos power supply. It doesn't show much just because it's facing downward, but I could either manually match that color-wise, just using the button. I could turn it off completely, or I could set this to motherboard and link it up if I wanted. The other interesting thing is I can actually flip the power supply over. So you could install it the other way and you'd actually see the power supply glowing from the inside, which actually would look kind of cool. It does defeat the purpose of the way and the order that the airflow is going to go, because we want the airflow to go up and out. So that's one of the things here. So yeah, we got that installed. That's going to work. I can also go back here and we can look and see if we've got any other things that we want to show, like there is Epic Games. Let's make sure we're logged in here. Oh, saying we're offline. Yes, because I did not plug the network cable in. Let's do that real quick. So plug a network cable in. See if things can be happy with us this time. You know, I'm wondering if this thing defaulted to 4K. Give me 1 second. 100%? No. Okay, good. So I want to do like 120 resolution scaling. Sorry. Yeah, these things get really small. So let's do Epic Games Launcher. Let's see what this thing can do now that we've got it. So it's a 1070 with a 5700X in it on an X570 motherboard. Now I've confused half of you. You guys can all leave, you know. But overall, like a pretty decent gaming machine. I'd love to have like a 2000 series graphics card, but you know, overall cost on this thing, the CPU right now on Amazon, I need to pull this up actually. The CPU on Amazon is on a deal, $192 for this CPU, and this is the 5700X. It's very similar to the 5800X. I used the 5800X, which is only 100 more megahertz than this one. So it's 4.8 boosting versus 4.7, or 4.7 versus 4.6. So this 5700 is going to keep up with it, but it's also $50 cheaper on Amazon right now. So this thing's 40% off. I'm actually tempted to pick up another one just for gaming. So there we go. Just logging in here. Tomb Raider servers aren't available. Sorry. It's what they are. We're going to unlock all our cool stuff because I just downloaded this. So my pack came with some extra stuff. But we're going to do some gaming here. I don't know if I can show you guys the sound. Let me know if you want to hear the sound. I've done that before, and sometimes it's really annoying, and sometimes people like to see the sound. Full screen, we're going to go that. We're going to have the super sampling on. We could do fidelity super resolution here. That actually can help. VSync off, and we're going to run benchmark. So there we go. Like I said, let me know if you want the sound. Sounds something like this. I can turn it down. Sometimes it's annoying. Taking a look here. Just firing up Tomb Raider for the first time. Jonathan says, I love that build. I do too, man. Wow, look at that. 92 FPS, 94. This thing's going to do over 100 when we get into some of the other scenes. Now, I'll tell you, I'm testing a card for an unnamed board partner for graphics cards. And when you see this one with ray tracing, so this one's still rasterized, I believe. But when you have this thing full ray tracing, man, the shadows and this scene is just awesome. So we're dipping down about 82 here. Green says, it's nice when the RGB plays nice. Absolutely. We're going back here. Oh, open RGB. That's a really good idea, Green. I've never even used that. That might be something I'll have to check out. Open RGB, because I really would love the Corsair memory to link up with the other stuff. Let me know if it's getting really noisy with the birds and stuff, because I think that's this scene. Before I sold them. Yeah, a 1070 is a great used card. If you're picking these things up, look at that. You're playing 80 FPS gaming, so if you're using still a 60 hertz monitor, sorry, and you're playing a game like this at 60 hertz, it's going to look gorgeous. So, Jonathan says, works fine if you use Linux for your gaming rig. Yeah, that's true. You probably can't run all this software. Yeah, look how cool the lighting, shadows, everything on this game is. I kind of want to take myself out of the way here, let you guys really enjoy this, you know. But we're just testing out Shadow of the Tomb Raider here. We're doing a benchmark test. We're going to the outside scene here. So I like using this one. Look at that. Like I said, over 100 FPS. You're going to get 135. This is going to do really well. You know, the sad part being a YouTuber doing so much, I don't get to play a lot of the games that I really wish I could. So my daughter and I, that's one of the things we're trying. I did a little bit of Fortnite yesterday. She gave me some schooling. So that's one thing. We do have one Gamdias product left to upgrade this just a tick, just a little bit. I wanted to show you the capability that it has to be upgraded. Also, I will probably use this kit, this fan kit that they've got next week on my build, because I got a case coming next week. It doesn't come with any fans. It's a cool looking case. It's a very unique case. You'll get to see that if you're tuned in. Make sure you're following me, by the way, on Amazon. If you haven't yet, go ahead and use the links in the description there. Follow me on Amazon if you see the follow button around. And you'll get notified each and every time I go live, which is awesome. But next week, I got a new case coming that you just can't miss. It's going to be great. It's a new partner I'm working with. It didn't come with any fans, so I think I'm going to use the fan kit mostly on that, but we are going to test the fan kit in this as soon as we get the benchmark done. We'll also take a look, if we can, about the thermals on this. That was another interesting thing I wanted to show you. This Boreas fan does an amazing job of moving air. I can hear some things changing a little bit, but in general, it's playing nice. You know, I can hear a little bit of a fan ramp. There we go. So let me get myself out of the way so you guys can see the results. 89 FPS on this. It's a pretty basic build, but you can see 100% GPU bound. So if I had the 3070 in here, we'd be rocking. But, we were GPU bound on this one, but still completely playable. You know, just almost 90 FPS out of this. So I really like that. Let me know if there's anything else you want to see on that. I'm going to jump out of this one real quick, and I'm going to shut it down because I have one more product to show you guys. Let's see. Yep. Here we go. Green's helping us out. Friend who struggled to use his default software, then OpenRGB picked up all of his hardware, and there's a 64-bit Windows. Okay. That sounds like a great recommendation, obviously. So that's a new thing. I can definitely hear now that it's finally gotten a little bit warm, that it's now starting to ramp the fans up just a tiny bit. It's not even obtrusive. You know, we've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 regular 120s, and then whatever the GPU's got. So this thing's got plenty of cooling. But we're going to add a little bit more to this. So now that we've shut it down, I'm going to take this side off, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to upgrade your computer with some additional RGB and RGB fans from Gamdias. So nice removable mesh screen here. Like I said, there's probably enough RGB going on in here, but it's RGB. You can always add more, right? So we're going to go here, and I'm going to open the AIO fan kit. Now let me pull this off to the side. I'm going to get it up here nice and close so you can see it. So the AIO fan kit, what's cool about this one? Well, it's 4 120 millimeter fans. And I will have to find out what the exact price is right now. Sorry, 1 second. On Amazon, I think I'd tag the 3-fan kit because I didn't see the 4-fan. Okay, there it is. 4-fan kit right now is 40. Ooh, see, that's not the right one. So this one is a brand new one. I had to tag the 3-fan because they don't have this one yet. So you see the rings on here? So the actual fans themselves are black, but the rings are where the RGB is. So it's going to be a little bit different style. Again, people like different things. There's different aesthetics. So next week, you're going to see this one in that build. I'll do a quick unboxing here for you. Make sure everything is set so you can see it real quick here. There we go. So this is the fan kit, and here is what you get inside of it. It actually includes, like I said, 4 complete fans. So if you have a case with 3 front fans, maybe 1 rear, you could swap this all out. You don't have to use all the fans. And actually, they come with the cables all nicely, covered. But I actually had to use this yesterday, just doing a pre-demo of the show. So there's the different fans that you get. Now, they are proprietary, so they are going to be a single wire hookup. Now, you don't see the RGB in them yet, do you? That's kind of an interesting thing here. So Again, blowing towards the back on these ones, so it's blowing towards the logo. Just remember that. That'll help you out there. So this connector, again, is just like the connector on the Chion. It has its own controller. Now the controller comes in this box. Looks very, very similar, right? Now you could actually run one controller and you could run your Chion color off of all this. So if I wanted to switch this out, switch all the fans out, and then run the 240 on the top, I could do that with this kit and one of the 240s. So that might be a really good look to this as well. Make sure you pull the little plastic tab out of your remote so that works. But I'm actually only going to use 2 of these. I was going to use 4, and I have a picture. I might have to pull it up here on social media. Let me pull that up real quick. Uh-oh. Gotta get my Twitter account here going. So I'll pull it up on social media just so you can see it real quick. If you're not following me on social media, I can't tell you to follow me. That's not the rules. So let me do this. I'll share this. No, not now. Okay. So there's a live show that we're doing there. There's a little teaser for the show, some of the other stuff going on. This is this machine with all of the fans. I used the 4-fan kit and the existing stock fans. I actually didn't have a motherboard in it yet, so I put those 2 fans down at the bottom. Now that I have everything in there, there's actually not enough room, I don't think, with the I/O cables and all that stuff. So I just wanted to show you what it might look like if you were going to do something like that and do a complete fan package around like I did. We're only going to use 2 of the fans, but I promise you the rest of them work just fine. So I'm going to put these other ones back in the box. Let's take a look at what we got in here. There's going to be one connector that we need for now, which is going to be this one right here, and that's going to be a SATA power. Now the SATA power goes into the power in. Oh, you know what? This one actually also has the PWM control. So that's the important thing. So if I did want to PWM control these, there's my PWM fan header. So I can plug that in right here and get motherboard fan speed control. That's huge. You don't see that in budget kits very often at all. So PWM is very important if you don't want to have super noisy fans all the time. And then you do have a link one that can go from LED in to LED out. Now I'm not going to motherboard control this one. I'm just going to sync it up visually with this. But these ones here, they come with all of the standard fan screws that you need. Fan screws for the 120s are very coarse thread. You see these? There's going to have 4 kits of them. It's also going to come with a magnet to mount this to the back of the case. It's going to stick in a stick-on magnet. I'm not going to go through all that just yet because I'm just going to add these to the top here. I'm going to go out to this so you can see it. Ooh, actually, you know what? I'm going to bring this camera back in. One second, guys. I switched to a camera that I had unplugged earlier. Okay. We'll make this work. Go back here while we're doing this. So this is my little trick board that I use to get all my cameras going. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install those fans up here on the top. Now again, I can decide which way I want them to face. What I always recommend is get your wire, and when I put this in, I'm going to put it in so that the wire feeds to the back, so I don't have to have any extra wire sticking out. I'm actually going to kind of use the back of this case as a support for this. So, you know, I can actually set this there, run the wire to the back, run it through, and then I can use that to hold it. Okay, so I'm going to take these screws, and we're going to upgrade the RGB on this. It's going to be awesome. So we're getting 2 more additional fans. I don't know if anybody's timing me, but it's going to go fast. That's the nice thing about little upgrades like this. Now, if you did have an AIO up here, this would be very similar. It would be about twice as thick. So I'm screwing these into the top of the case, and this would normally be covered by the metal screen here, the removable dust screen. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in here, and then I'm going to thread this in. Okay, so we got one. It's not going to be super impressive with them off, and I'm actually not even going to put both screws in each one because I'm going to take this out eventually. But just want to show you what they look like when they're installed. I'm going to take the other one here, which I need to get a little more cable on. I'm going to set it up here. Just remember to face them both the same way. You don't want to have a push-pull-push configuration in your inline there. That's what Gamers Nexus needs to do. They've done all that, the AIO videos and all the other stuff telling you you're doing things wrong. They need to do like all the different fan configurations because they get into the science of stuff and tell us what we're doing wrong on fans. That would be kind of a cool video if you guys watch Gamers Nexus. We've got Green checking in. So are we adding 2 in and 2 out? No, we are actually we're adding 2 more out at the top. You know what? So it used to be unbalanced. We had 2 in and 1 out in the back. Now we're going to have 3 out and 2 in. So this is going to have some positive suction getting in here. There you go. Yeah, so definitely an affordable way to do this. You know, they are, like I said, they are proprietary. You know, Jonathan's talking about that in the chat right now. But, you know, they are a proprietary cable, but you know what? It's one cable. And if you're going to want PWM control, you know, the nice thing about this is you don't got like all of those daisy cables that go from one to another to another. Because I've seen that, like in a case, if you're using all the standard connectors and you have to daisy chain them, it can be a pain. So these cables are a little bit thicker. Let me bring you on the top down here. So these cables are a little bit thicker, like I said, and be super careful you're plugging them in right. So fan 1 is right here. If you push hard, they go in the wrong way and then they blow up. So don't do that. But they do actually fit properly when you do them right. So again, I've got 2 of those cables in here. This I would tuck in and manage to, you know, cable manage it eventually. Now there's the side of the case. You don't necessarily see them, right? They're just right there to add a little something something. Okay, turn it back on. Okay, now they've lit up already. And you can see that they're red. Now let me show you on the top down what they look like. Check that out. So I've added RGB now to this in the top, and I can change the color, green, blue. Let's try to see if we can match a green across the board. Did we get that? So there's some green. There's for green protagonists. There we go. We got green almost all the way across. And so it's a very different style of fan. You see how it's just the outside ring on these? Now when it's spinning, because they're black, you're going to get this effect like it's a full, there you go, so you can see the blades. You're going to get this effect like it's a colored blade, but it's the opposite of what you'd see, let's say, on the front. You see how the front's like colored in the middle and then tapers out? These are like backwards. So now you can decide and you can say, hey, you know what? I want to use this fan kit in lieu of the fans that come with this, and so I want that ringed effect, and you've got 4 fans, so you could do 2 up top here, 2 in the front, something like that, or you can mix and match. You can do whatever you want. That's the cool thing about building PCs. You get your choice to do that. But that, again, from Gamdias is their AIO's fan kit, and this little tiny remote's included, but guess what? There's a motherboard button here. You press that, and you're back to motherboard control. So we'll go take a look, see here. See if we're back booted up, and then I think that's it. We'll give it a college try here. Gotta get ourselves logged in. There we go. So again, machine's booted back up and working. I could change the color on the IQ software. Yeah, sorry, Restream does not like my bandwidth on this thing today. So this is how you change the color of your lighting effects. These, and I want them green. So I'm going to click these. Static color. Color is going to be a green. Okay, so now my RAM should have matched me. Let's go switch it out the other way. So now my RAM is green, or close to green as it can get. Let's go take a look on this side. Look at that. Yeah, wow. That's like a Borg green, isn't it? You guys let me know what you think in the chat. So that's like our Borg green. And there you go, the difference on those fans. So it's got the LED ring. Now this is addressable RGB also. So let me change them up a little bit just so you can see one of their, look at that mode. Definitely got some pretty cool modes that they can do. So that's, again, the chasing pattern mode. And it's a lot sharper of a look because it's definitely got that, and then I can go back to solid. So it's got that RGB look that it's got there. So very cool. I appreciate you guys checking in. Thank you guys all for showing up here. Very much like the Thermaltake ring fans. Yes, they do. A lot more affordably too, don't they? So thanks to Gamdias again for supplying a lot of these great parts and allowing me to demonstrate them for you. And thanks for them for trusting in my channel as long as they did. Like I said, you know, I gotta pull it up now that I've teased you guys like that. Here we go. YouTube.com/thenetguy. I'm gonna pull up my very old Gamdias Talos M1. So I'm going to search for that Talos. I'm going to pull up this video and just share it with you guys so you can see what it looks like, because it is pretty funny. This was my old set, which is the same room here. Okay, here we go. We're going to share this, and we're going to go theater mode. This was my old Talos M1 video that I did a whole long time ago. And I need to turn that off. Sorry. There we go. I had some really cool panning shots, but that's about all I had on my old channel. And here we go. Look at this young guy with this tiny beard. I don't know. Have you seen a beard like that before? Yeah, that was they trusted that guy to show off that case. Now that was another ATX case in the Talos line. It had a big glass front. Really, really cool. It's got the ring fans. But they've replaced that with this one. This is the Mesh, the M3. So again, thank them for trusting me back however long ago that was. You want to know when that video was? That was 3 years ago. It doesn't show me the exact date, but 3 years ago I've been helping Gamdias show some of their cool products. And this, again, is one of them. We're going to do the obligatory peel before we sign off here, and then I will let you guys go for the night. So hopefully you guys had a great time. I'm going to peel off the inside here. There we go. Hopefully that noise cancellation didn't get that. Hopefully you got that, the ASMR folks out there. Looks good. And you know what? Clearance on the cooler could not be closer. Well, it could. It would be close, but let me go ahead and put this over here. I got to get at least one corner started here. 2 corners started so I can put the studs in there. So again, we're going to do the full reveal and peel here on the side of this case. We got a new gaming machine here we just built tonight. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Here we go. Almost did the proverbial crash of the case. Oh, where did I put those bottom 2 screws that I took off? There they are. Put the bottom 2 ones on there. You almost had a bad accident here. That would have been awful if I'd have dropped that glass. So there we go. So that's what it looks like, complete with the additional 2 fans. Oh, we're getting in my lighting here. The additional 2 fans that we've added through the top here. Very good looking gaming machine. Hopefully you guys had a great Friday with me building a computer. It is very easy to do. Definitely tune in. I will do more of these, and hopefully you guys had a nice time. I'll check the chat one more time, make sure I got everybody, and I will catch you guys all in the next one. 3 years of beard. That's what he says, Green. Yes, it is. Thank you guys all. I really do appreciate you guys checking in. Support your smaller content creators just like Gamdias did many years ago in entrusting me, and I will catch you guys in the next one.